In the beginning, there was nothing. No stars, no planets, not even light. Just an infinite ocean of darkness and silence stretching beyond imagination. But within that void, something stirred, a whisper of energy, a flicker of possibility. And then, in a single, incomprehensible moment, everything changed. From a point smaller than a grain of sand, the universe exploded into existence. The Big Bang, a roar of creation so powerful that even today, billions of years later, its echo still hums through the fabric of space. The newborn universe was chaos, blinding light, swirling plasma, and unimaginable heat. Particles collided, fused, and shattered apart again, dancing in the storm of existence. Over time, the wild fury began to cool. Hydrogen and helium formed, the first building blocks of all matter. Gravity, that silent sculptor, began to weave its spell. Tiny clumps of gas drew together, pulling tighter and tighter until pressure ignited the first stars. The cosmos was no longer dark, it was ablaze with light. Stars lived and died in spectacular fashion, some collapsing inward and exploding outward in supernovas that spread heavy elements, iron, carbon, oxygen, into the cosmic sea. Every planet, every rock, every living thing that would one day exist came from this stardust. In death, the stars gave birth to everything that would come after. Amid these vast stellar forges, one small, unremarkable star began to glow about 4.6 billion years ago. Around it, a swirling disk of gas and dust spun wildly, colliding and merging, forming lumps of molten rock. This was our sun, and this chaotic disk would soon become its family of planets. Within that glowing ring, one fiery sphere began to take shape, Earth. At first, it was a hellish world. Rivers of lava flowed across its surface. Meteors rained down relentlessly, turning oceans of rock into boiling seas. The air was toxic, filled with carbon dioxide, sulfur, and steam. Volcanoes roared without rest, filling the atmosphere with thick black smoke. Yet, deep within this inferno, the foundations of life were quietly assembling. Then, the rains came. For thousands upon thousands of years, storms raged across the young planet. Lightning split the sky. As the earth cooled, the vapor condensed, forming the first oceans. From fire came water, from chaos came calm. In those endless blue depths, something miraculous was about to happen. Scientists believe that in the warmth of undersea vents, where minerals and heat mixed in perfect balance, the first building blocks of life began to form. Simple molecules came together, forming chains of proteins and RNA, tiny self-replicating systems that could copy themselves, evolve, and adapt. It was fragile, almost accidental, but it worked. The first spark of life had been lit. For millions of years, these microscopic pioneers ruled the oceans, dividing and mutating in silence. They were invisible architects, changing the planet molecule by molecule. Some learned to harvest sunlight, releasing oxygen into the air, a transformation that would forever alter the Earth's atmosphere. What began as a deadly planet of poison was slowly turning into a world capable of supporting complex life. And then, evolution began its grand symphony. From single-celled organisms came multicellular creatures. Shapes became more complex, functions more refined. The oceans teemed with strange, soft-bodied beings, early sponges, jelly-like creatures, and simple worms crawling across the seabed. The planet that had once been nothing but rock and flame was now alive. Land, too, was transforming. Tectonic plates drifted, collided, and split apart, forming mountains and valleys. The continents were restless, constantly reshaping themselves. Volcanoes built islands, and erosion tore them down. Each movement, each eruption, set the stage for life's next great act. But life's story was not a straight line, it was written in cycles of creation and destruction. The Earth endured catastrophic events that nearly ended everything. Ice ages froze the planet solid, asteroids struck with apocalyptic force, entire species vanished in an instant. Yet, each time, life found a way to return, stronger and more diverse than before. The Cambrian explosion was one such rebirth. Roughly 540 million years ago, life suddenly burst into variety: fish with armor-like scales, creatures with claws and eyes, coral reefs teeming with color. The seas had become crowded, alive with predators and prey. Evolution's creativity had no limits. Still, the story of the Earth was far from over. From the sea, life began its boldest journey, to the land. Plants crept onto the shores, spreading green across the barren continents. They transformed the air yet again, pumping oxygen into the atmosphere. Insects followed, then amphibians crawling from tide pools onto wet sand. Reptiles evolved next, their tough skins allowing them to roam freely under the sun. By this time, the Earth had become a magnificent theater of color, sound, and struggle. The forests grew tall, the skies filled with wings, and the oceans glittered with endless forms of life. Yet, something greater was still waiting to emerge, creatures with intelligence, with the power to dream, to build, to destroy. But before that dawn, the world would face another era of giants, an age that would leave its mark on history like no other, the time of the dinosaurs. The Earth had already seen countless transformations, but what was coming next would reshape not just the planet's landscape, but the future of life itself. The story of the world, still young in the grand scale of time, was only beginning to unfold. The reign of the dinosaurs was one of nature's greatest chapters. For over 160 million years, these colossal creatures ruled every corner of the Earth. Towering herbivores grazed across vast plains, while ferocious predators like Tyrannosaurus rex and Allosaurus stalked their prey under skies heavy with tropical heat. The world was lush and wild, filled with forests of giant ferns and thunderous herds that shook the ground as they moved. But even empires of nature must fall. Around 66 million years ago, a streak of fire appeared in the sky. A massive asteroid, traveling faster than any sound, pierced the atmosphere and slammed into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The explosion was beyond comprehension. The impact unleashed energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, igniting forests, boiling oceans, and darkening the skies with ash. For months, sunlight could not reach the ground. Plants withered, ecosystems collapsed, and one by one, the mighty dinosaurs disappeared. Yet, not all life perished. Small mammals, burrowing in the ground, survived the chaos. When the smoke cleared and the world began to heal, they emerged into a new age, the age of mammals. Without the dinosaurs to dominate them, these tiny survivors began to evolve rapidly. Some grew larger, some faster, others smarter. The Earth, once ruled by beasts of scale and claw, was now the cradle of intelligence. Forests returned, rivers flowed once again, and continents drifted into their modern positions. Over millions of years, new creatures rose, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and eventually, apes that learned to walk upright. These early humans were fragile compared to the monsters of the past, but they carried something no creature before them had fully possessed: conscious thought. They began to shape the world not with claws or teeth, but with imagination and fire. They built tools, tamed animals, and learned to control the very elements that once terrified their ancestors. From stone to bronze to iron, humanity's mastery grew. Villages became cities, cities became civilizations. They mapped the stars, carved gods from stone, and wrote stories to explain the mysteries of creation. From the first spark of life in the ocean to the rise of humankind, the Earth had traveled an unimaginable journey. It had been fire and ice, chaos and creation. It had been empty and full, dying and reborn countless times. And through it all, it never stopped changing. Now, when we look up at the night sky, we are seeing the same stars that once birthed our world. We are made of their remnants, of stardust and time. The atoms in our blood were forged in dying suns. The water we drink has cycled through comets, clouds, and oceans for billions of years. The ground beneath our feet was once the heart of a volcano, the ashes of ancient worlds. The history of the world is not just a tale of rocks and fire, it is the story of everything that ever lived, of the universe learning to know itself. From that first burst of light in the void to the spark of human thought, it is a story written across time, space, and memory. And though we may think it is complete, it is not. The Earth is still evolving, still turning, still alive. Somewhere, deep in space, new stars are forming, and new worlds are waiting to be born, just as ours once was. The history of the world is the story of beginnings without end.